A dragon can be a sacred guardian or a chaotic force of mischief. This stunning duality lies at the heart of legendary beasts across global mythologies, and it completely shatters our simple ideas of good and evil. By the end of our journey, you will possess a new lens to understand mythology, psychology, and even your own inner conflicts. We will explore why a single mythical being can be both a protector of treasures and a bringer of chaos, and what this says about our deepest human fears and desires. We will see how a world-spanning serpent can both hold the cosmos together and be destined to destroy it. Where do you see this battle between order and chaos playing out in your own life? These two opposing forces, the Guardian and the Trickster, form the essential poles of our mythological landscape. The Guardian stands as a symbol of order and preservation. This is the being entrusted with a sacred duty, a solemn vow to protect something of immense value. That treasure could be tangible, like a dragon's gleaming hoard of gold in a mountain cavern, or something entirely intangible, like esoteric knowledge or the very balance of the cosmos. Picture the majestic Sphinx stationed at the crossroads, its enigmatic riddles serving not as mere puzzles but as a formidable gate, allowing only the truly worthy to pass. The Guardian's power is immense, but it is a structured power bound by rules and a profound sense of purpose. Its domain is one of stability, permanence, and defense. Now turn your gaze to the Trickster. This figure is the embodiment of chaos, the wild card in the cosmic deck. The Trickster is an agent of change, a force that actively works to disrupt the status quo. Through mischief, deception, and outright rule-breaking, this archetype shatters complacency. Think of Loki in Norse mythology, whose clever, often self-serving schemes repeatedly throw the gods into turmoil, forcing them to adapt and confront unforeseen consequences. Or consider the Native American Coyote, a being whose foolish antics and chaotic adventures often lead to hard-won lessons, sometimes even creating fundamental aspects of the world through accidental brilliance. The Trickster's realm is one of flux, uncertainty, and unexpected transformation. Yet here is the crucial insight, the key that unlocks a deeper understanding. These roles are not rigid boxes into which a mythical being is permanently sealed. They exist on a dynamic spectrum. A single legendary creature can slide between these identities, acting as a fearsome guardian in one tale and a chaotic trickster in the next, depending on the cultural lens through which it is viewed and the needs of the story being told. This foundational duality, this inherent tension between preserving order and instigating change, is the very heart of their complexity. It prepares us to meet the specific beasts who live within this fascinating push and pull, whose very natures are a battle between the mountain and the whirlwind. Coiled deep beneath the ocean's surface lies a beast that perfectly embodies this dual nature, the Norse world serpent, Jörmungandr. Its immense body wraps entirely around the realm of Midgard, the world of humans, with its tail held firmly in its own jaws. This is not a pose of idleness. It is a powerful, living symbol of a perfect, unbroken circle, a boundary that actively contains the ordered world and holds the formless chaos of the outer sea at bay. In this role, Jörmungandr is the ultimate guardian, a silent, steadfast sentinel maintaining the stability of all creation. Yet this same serpent is destined to be a world ender. The ancient prophecies tell of Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, when Jörmungandr will finally release its tail. The seas will boil as it rises from the depths, its venom poisoning the very sky, to face its eternal rival, the thunder god Thor, in a final battle that will shatter the cosmos. So how can one being be both the preserver of the world and the agent of its annihilation? The answer lies in the Norse worldview, which saw time not as a straight line but as a great turning wheel. In this cycle, destruction is not an opposite to creation, it is its necessary partner. The old order, having grown stagnant, must be broken apart so that a new, more vibrant world can be born from the ashes. Jörmungandr is not a villain in this story. It is a fundamental force of the universe, a vital piece of the cosmic machinery. Its guardianship is not a gentle protection, but a temporary holding back of an inevitable and necessary transformation. The Serpent's terrifying power to end the world is precisely what makes its current, quiet act of holding the world together so profound. It reminds us that the structures we depend on for safety are always temporary, and that the forces which maintain our reality are also the ones that will one day renew it. But the guardian who tests the mind is a different kind of sentinel altogether. Far from the churning seas of the north, perched on a high rock outside the ancient city of Thebes, the Greek Sphinx presented a different kind of boundary. With the powerful body of a lion and the intelligent head of a human, this creature was a living, breathing gate. Her method of protection was not brute force, but a lethal puzzle. To every traveler who sought to pass, she posed her infamous riddle. What creature walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Failure to answer correctly meant a swift and terrible death, devoured on the spot. In this, she was the ultimate and terrifying guardian, purging the city of the unworthy through a brutal, intellectual filter. Yet look closer at her method, and the trickster's shadow emerges. The riddle itself is a form of controlled chaos, a game of wits where the stakes are life and death. It is a deception woven from words, a trap for the unthinking. The Sphinx did not merely stand as a physical barrier, she weaponized ambiguity. She guarded not just a road to a city, but the very threshold between ignorance and enlightenment. Her role was to enforce a law, yet her tool was the trickster's favorite instrument, a clever puzzle designed to mislead and confuse. This duality reached its climax with the hero Oedipus. He did not slay the Sphinx with a sword, but with an answer. The answer was humanity itself, crawling as a baby, walking upright in adulthood, and using a staff in old age. In that moment of brilliant clarity, the Guardian's purpose was utterly subverted. The test of wisdom was passed, and the chaotic game was won. The Sphinx, defeated not by force but by intellect, threw herself from the rock in a fit of rage and despair. Her destruction was not just the fall of a monster, but the shattering of an enigma. Thebes was freed, but the story leaves us with a haunting question. Was the Sphinx a noble guardian weeding out the foolish, or a malevolent trickster delighting in a cruel game? She was profoundly both. Her story shows us that the most formidable walls are not made of stone, but of questions, and that the key to overcoming them lies not in strength, but in understanding. A creature of shifting forms and even more fluid loyalties, the Japanese Kitsune reveals a duality that is deeply personal and relational. This is no cosmic force holding the world together or a solitary riddler on a rock. The Kitsune lives among us, its nature a reflection of its interactions with humanity itself. In its most benevolent form, the Zenko, or celestial fox, serves as a divine messenger. These white foxes are the loyal guardians of the rice god Inari, symbols of prosperity and protection. You will find their stone statues, often adorned with red bibs, standing watch at thousands of shrines across Japan. They are not merely decorative, they represent a sacred contract, a spirit dedicated to safeguarding communities, ensuring bountiful harvests, and acting as a conduit between the human and the divine. Their power is structured, their purpose clear, and they are revered as noble guardians. Yet walk from the serene shrine into the shadowy forest, and you encounter the Kitsune's other face. The Yoko, or wild fox, is a master of mischief. These spirits are infamous tricksters, shape-shifting with breathtaking ease. One moment, they might appear as a beautiful woman to lead a lonely traveler astray. The next, they could be a floating ball of foxfire, a mysterious will-o'-the-wisp luring the unsuspecting deep into the woods. Their pranks are not always cruel, but they are always chaotic, serving their own inscrutable whims. They might possess individuals, speaking through them in confused tongues, or simply rearrange household objects to cause bewilderment. This is the archetypal trickster in full force, delighting in the disruption of human certainty. The most fascinating Kitsune, however, are those who refuse to be neatly categorized. A single fox spirit might choose to guard a specific human family, ensuring their wealth and health, while simultaneously using its cunning to play elaborate, humiliating tricks on that family's rivals. Its allegiance is not to a simple concept of good or evil, but to its own complex relationships and affections. This fluidity is the core of its teaching. The Kitsune's nature is a direct expression of the Shinto worldview, which sees a spiritual essence or kami in all things. In this framework, beings are not born inherently virtuous or wicked. They possess intentions that can be both benevolent and mischievous, sometimes within the very same moment. The Kitsune does not represent a battle between order and chaos, but a demonstration that these forces are interwoven in the fabric of everyday life. Its role is defined by its relationship with you. Are you respectful, kind, and worthy of its guardianship, or are you proud, foolish, and ripe for a lesson? The fox spirit holds up a mirror, showing us that the line between a blessing and a curse often depends entirely on our own actions. The Kitsune reveals a world where spirits reflect our own actions, but some trickster gods operate on a far grander, more primal scale. Among the vast and varied traditions of Native American peoples, the figure of Coyote stands as the ultimate paradox. He is a sacred creator, a being of immense power who shaped the very world we walk upon. In countless stories, he is the one who stole fire from the selfish beings who hoarded it, bravely bringing its warmth and light to humanity. He molded rivers with his paws and placed mountains upon the horizon, acting as a true guardian of the emerging world and its people. This is a role of profound cultural importance, a being woven into the very foundation of life. Yet, in the very next breath, this same divine figure can be a spectacular fool. His greed leads him to try stealing food only to be caught in a humiliating trap. His lechery results in a series of comical, disastrous romantic pursuits. His sheer arrogance convinces him he can fly like an eagle, leading to a painful and instructive fall back to earth. These are not just simple fables for entertainment. They are foundational teachings, carefully crafted to illustrate the real-world consequences of hubris, selfishness, and imbalance. Coyote's foolishness provides a clear, memorable map of what not to do. His chaotic blunders create the very boundaries of proper social behavior. So how can the same being be both a revered culture hero and a laughingstock? His enduring legacy teaches that wisdom and folly are not eternal enemies. They are two sides of the same worn coin, constantly flipping in the hand of existence. True wisdom is not the absence of foolishness, but the knowledge that is born from surviving it. Coyote's stories suggest that creation itself does not always emerge from perfect, divine order. Sometimes the world is shaped through a series of chaotic accidents, blunders, and hard-learned lessons. The trickster, for all his frustrating and unpredictable behavior, becomes a necessary force for change, adaptation, and deep cultural learning. He reminds everyone that even the most powerful beings make mistakes, and that from those mistakes something new and vital can be born. The misty hills of Celtic folklore gave rise to a being of pure potential, the Púca. This shapeshifter refused to be pinned down, its form as fluid as the morning fog. One moment it might be a sleek black horse with fiery eyes, the next a shaggy goat, a swift rabbit, or even a familiar face. You could never be sure what you were encountering, and its intentions were even more mysterious. The Púca could arrive as a sudden, unexpected guardian. A farmer might find his harvest gathered with impossible speed, the work of unseen hands in the night. A lost traveler stumbling in the dark could be guided home by a strange, silent animal that vanished at the first light of dawn. In these acts, it served as a protector of the land and its people, a benevolent spirit offering aid without being asked. Yet this very same creature was a master of fear and chaos. It delighted in leading nighttime riders on terrifying wild chases across the countryside, a practice known as the Púca's ride. It could spoil a field of crops just for sport, or appear in a horrifying form to shatter a person's peace of mind. There was no malice in this, not in the way we understand it. The Púca simply was. It did not operate by human rules of good and evil. Its behavior was a direct reflection of the untamed, capricious, and often frightening spirit of the wild landscape itself. It was the storm that could water your fields or flatten your home, the wind that could fill your sails or tear your roof away. The Púca exists outside our comfortable binary of guardian and trickster. It embodies a third, more primal state, that of pure, unpredictable potential. It teaches a difficult but vital lesson. True nature is not always a choice between order and chaos. Sometimes it is the raw, unformed energy that precedes that choice, a force that can build or break with equal ease, answering only to its own inscrutable whims. The wild unpredictability of the Púca touches something primal within us, a recognition that feels strangely personal. This resonance is no accident. To truly grasp why these dual roles in mythology strike such a deep chord, we must look inward, to the map of the human psyche drawn by the psychologist Carl Jung. Jung introduced a powerful idea, the concept of the shadow. This is not a monster in a closet, but the hidden part of our own personality. It contains everything we repress, our raw instincts, our unacceptable desires, and the parts of ourselves we are too ashamed to acknowledge. It is the unconscious reservoir of our latent potential for both creation and destruction. Now, place the legendary beasts we have met onto this psychological landscape. The guardian archetype aligns perfectly with what Jung called the ego, or the persona. This is the part of us that strives for order, that builds a stable identity, that presents a respectable, controlled face to the world. It is the dragon dutifully guarding its treasure, the Sphinx enforcing its sacred law. This is our psychological immune system, designed to keep us safe and maintain a coherent sense of self. But then there is the trickster. This archetype is a stunning external representation of the shadow itself. It is the Loki who shatters the god's complacency, the Coyote whose foolishness breaks social taboos, the wild fox that disrupts a quiet village. The trickster does not follow the rules of the ego. It emerges from the depths to challenge our rigid self-concepts, to mock our pretensions, and to force a confrontation with everything we have locked away. This is not a comfortable process. It is chaotic, often painful, and deeply unsettling. Yet it is absolutely necessary for genuine growth. A person who only listens to the guardian, who never questions their own carefully constructed identity, becomes stagnant and brittle. It is only when the trickster arrives, creating chaos and disruption, that we are forced to adapt, to integrate our hidden parts, and to become more complete individuals. This is the profound purpose these myths serve. They provide a safe, symbolic arena to explore our own internal civil war. When we watch a hero outwit the Sphinx, we are not just witnessing an ancient tale. We are seeing a metaphor for using our conscious intelligence to solve a riddle from our own unconscious. When we hear of Jörmungandr holding the world together only to one day destroy it, we are witnessing the terrifying but necessary cycle of our own lives, where old versions of ourselves must die for new ones to be born. These stories of legendary beasts are, in the end, stories about us. They are age-old narratives that give form to the eternal struggle between our desire for a stable, predictable life and our deep, often frightening need for transformation and renewal. This psychological lens reveals why these archetypes feel so universal, but we must also turn our gaze outward to the civilizations that gave them shape. These mythical beings are profound cultural mirrors. The specific balance a society strikes between the guardian and the trickster often reflects its own deepest values and anxieties about order and change. A rigid, hierarchical empire might craft myths where guardians are absolute, their authority unquestionable, and where tricksters are depicted as malevolent forces of pure destruction to be violently subdued. This mythology reinforces the social message: do not challenge the established order. Yet a culture that prizes cleverness and survival, perhaps one that has endured great upheavals, will tell very different stories. Its tricksters like Coyote or Anansi the spider are celebrated. Their chaos is not a threat to be eliminated, but a necessary tool for outwitting stronger powers and adapting to a harsh world. In these narratives, the trickster's cunning is a form of intelligence vital for the community's survival. The dual nature of a single beast can capture a society's entire conflicted relationship with power itself. Consider the dragon sitting atop its hoard of gold. In one light, this creature is the ultimate guardian of a king's divine right to rule. Its immense power protects the wealth and stability of the kingdom, and to slay it is an act of treason against the natural order. But tilt the lens just slightly, and that same dragon becomes a terrifying symbol of the king's own greed. Its fire breathes ruin upon the peasant villages, its hoarding creates poverty, and its isolation in a mountain fortress mirrors the ruler's detachment from his people. The hero who slays this beast is not a traitor but a liberator. This single mythical creature contains both the justification for authority and the blueprint for its overthrow. By studying these legendary beasts, we are not merely reading old tales. We are decoding the psyche of ancient civilizations. We are listening in on a profound dialogue a people were having with themselves about the very nature of power, the fear of the unknown, and the eternal tension between the safety of the wall and the freedom of the wild. The dragon's nature is never truly its own. It belongs to the one who tells its tale. Across centuries and cultures, the very same beast can be reshaped by the storyteller's purpose, its role sliding along the spectrum from chaotic fiend to sacred warden. In ancient oral traditions shared around flickering fires, a creature might serve as a terrifying warning, a trickster whose chaotic antics illustrated the dangers of breaking tribal taboos. Yet, centuries later, a poet or a novelist writing in the quiet of a library might recast that very same being as a noble, tragic guardian. Look at the European dragon. In the grim world of medieval lore, it was often a symbol of pure, satanic greed, a beast to be slain by a saint or a knight to demonstrate the triumph of divine order over chaotic evil. Its death was a moral necessity, but fast forward to modern fantasy, and the dragon is frequently reimagined as a wise, ancient being, a guardian of forgotten knowledge whose hoard is not mere gold, but the weight of history itself. The creature did not change, the storyteller's context did. A priest weaving a sermon needed a monster to embody sin. A modern author exploring gray morality needs a complex being to question what we consider monstrous. This fluidity reveals a profound truth. The Guardian and the Trickster are not fixed identities but powerful narrative tools. They are archetypal clay, molded to teach the lesson a particular society or a single artist needs to convey. The story is a living thing passed from one generation to the next, and with each telling, the nature of the beast within it can be reborn. It is this very understanding of narrative evolution that now allows us to witness the most deliberate act of storytelling, the moment these ancient roles are turned completely upside down. Guardians can falter. The very being entrusted with a sacred duty can slowly twist its purpose. Picture a dragon who was once the protector of a kingdom's life-giving spring. Over centuries, it begins to see the water not as a gift to safeguard, but as a possession to be hoarded. It demands greater and greater tributes from the people it once served, until the village thrives only to feed the Guardian's growing avarice. In this story, the Guardian has failed. Its power, meant for preservation, has become a tool of oppression. It has grown stagnant and corrupt, upholding a hollow order that serves only itself. This is when the Trickster's disruption becomes a necessary, almost medicinal chaos. A classic fable from India illustrates this perfectly. A powerful demon, Hiranyakashipu, gained a boon that made him nearly invincible. He declared himself a god and forbade the worship of any other. His son, Prahlada, remained devoted to the true deity, Vishnu. The demon king, acting as a tyrannical guardian of his own ego, tried again and again to kill his own son for this disobedience. He failed each time, for true faith proved to be a shield. Finally, in a rage, the demon pointed to a palace pillar and demanded to know if his god was present even there. From that very pillar, Vishnu emerged in the form of Narasimha, a being who was neither man nor beast, who appeared at twilight, which was neither day nor night, and who killed the demon on his own threshold, which was neither indoors nor out. This was not the act of a straightforward guardian. It was a trickster's solution, using a loophole born of chaotic wit to dismantle an unjust and rigid order. The trickster, in this divine form, did not uphold the law. He transcended it to save a devotee and restore true balance. What does this teach us? It warns us that blind allegiance to any authority, even one that presents itself as a protector, can lead us into a gilded cage. The designated guardian is not always right. Its power can calcify into tyranny, and the trickster, so often dismissed as a mere nuisance or a villain, can be the unexpected catalyst for liberation. Their chaotic intervention shatters a system that has become corrupt, forcing a necessary reevaluation of what protection and order truly mean. In our own lives, we face similar dynamics. The rigid company policy that stifles innovation, the social convention that perpetuates an injustice, these are the modern guardians that may have outlived their purpose. The trickster's spirit in these scenarios is the whistleblower, the artist, the rebel who asks the uncomfortable question that everyone else is afraid to voice. Their actions seem disruptive, even destructive, but they clear the way for something new and more authentic to grow. This moral ambiguity is not a flaw in these myths. It is their deepest wisdom. It forces us to move beyond simple labels of hero and villain, good and evil. It asks us to judge an action not by who performs it, but by its ultimate consequence. Does it preserve a life-giving order or a suffocating one? Does its chaos merely destroy, or does it create the space for a necessary rebirth? The most profound truths are often found not in the clear light of day, but in the complicated, shifting shadows where the failed guardian and the redeeming trickster meet. This symbolic battle between control and chaos is the engine of every myth we have explored. The Guardian's imposing wall and the Trickster's disruptive storm are not just characters in a story, they are fundamental forces written into the code of reality itself. Think of a mighty river. We build dams to control its flow, to harness its power for our cities and farms. This dam is the Guardian, a structure of immense power creating order and predictability from a wild, untamed force. It represents our human yearning for safety, for a world we can understand and depend on. But what happens if that dam is never opened, if the river behind it becomes a stagnant, choked lake? The ecosystem withers, the water grows foul. This is the danger of pure Guardian energy, a rigid order that refuses to adapt, eventually becoming a prison. Now imagine a great flood. It smashes the dam, scours the riverbed, and reshapes the entire landscape. This deluge is the Trickster, an uncontrollable agent of chaos that destroys the old order. In the immediate aftermath, there is only ruin and anarchy. Yet, that same destructive force also deposits rich, new soil, clears away debris, and creates the conditions for a more fertile world to emerge. This is the necessary, terrifying role of chaos. It is the universe's way of breaking what is brittle to make room for what is vital. A legendary beast that embodies both these roles, like Jörmungandr holding the world together only to one day shatter it, is not a contradiction. It is a perfect symbol of this delicate, eternal balance. A society that worships only the Guardian, that fears all change and enforces absolute control, becomes a fossil, beautiful perhaps, but utterly lifeless. Conversely, a world ruled solely by the Trickster is a world of constant, meaningless upheaval, where nothing can ever take root and grow. The deepest wisdom of these myths is their insistence that both forces are essential partners in a cosmic dance. You live this duality every single day. The comfortable routine of your job, the familiar walls of your home, these are the Guardian's domain. Then, without warning, the Trickster arrives. It is the sudden layoff that forces a career change, the unexpected illness that reorders your priorities, the chance meeting that alters your life's path. In the moment, these events feel purely chaotic, even destructive. Yet, so often, they become the catalysts for growth you never could have planned. The mythic beasts are a mirror for this internal and external struggle. They ask us a profound question. Are you building a dam to create stability, or are you building a wall that will eventually choke you? Are you facing a destructive storm, or is it a necessary flood that will clear the ground for a new beginning? By recognizing this ancient symbolic battle, we do more than just understand old stories. We gain a lens to interpret the chaos and order in our own lives, seeing them not as enemies, but as the two essential hands that shape the world. This is the secret purpose of the Threshold Guardian. These legendary beasts are not random roadblocks placed in a hero's path. They are the living, breathing test that stands at the border between the ordinary world and the realm of transformation. Their role is to scrutinize, to challenge, and to validate. When the Sphinx poses her riddle, she is not interested in the traveler's sword arm. She is probing his mind, his capacity for lateral thinking and self-awareness. The correct answer does not just grant passage. It proves that the hero possesses the specific quality needed to navigate the trials that lie ahead. In this light, the beast's seemingly chaotic trickster behavior, its deceptive puzzle or its shifting form, is not an end in itself. That chaos is a finely tuned instrument wielded by its deeper guardian nature. The trick is the test. The dragon breathing fire is not merely trying to kill the night. It is presenting the ultimate final exam in courage, resourcefulness, and resolve. To face such a creature and prevail, whether through combat or cleverness, is to demonstrate beyond any doubt that you are no longer the person who first set out on the journey. You have been forged in the confrontation. The beast itself becomes the rite of passage. Its very presence marks the critical juncture where a common person can cross over into becoming a hero. This is why so many of these encounters happen in liminal spaces, at a crossroads, on a narrow bridge, or at the entrance to a dark forest. The guardian is the gate, and the trick it presents is the key. Defeating it is not about destruction, but about unlocking your own potential. The hero does not simply eliminate a monster. They integrate the lesson it represents, absorbing the cunning of the fox or the wisdom demanded by the Sphinx. The Threshold Guardian, in all its terrifying duality, is therefore an essential component of the hero's growth, a purposeful design in the architecture of myth that ensures no one advances without being fundamentally and irrevocably changed. But when the trickster takes the lead, the beast transforms into a powerful agent of change. Its primary role shifts from protecting the existing order to actively shattering it. This is where the short-term chaos reveals its long-term purpose. Think of Loki once more. His most famous deceptions, like cutting the goddess Sif's beautiful golden hair, plunged the gods into immediate crisis. Yet that very act of mischief forced them to seek out the dwarven master craftsman, leading to the creation of Thor's mighty hammer, Odin's magical spear, and other treasures that would become essential tools for the gods' survival. The initial disruption, painful as it was, became the catalyst for a vital upgrade in their collective power. The trickster beast operates like a sudden, violent storm that clears away a rotting forest. The immediate view is one of devastation, of broken branches and flattened undergrowth. But that destruction is not an end. It allows sunlight to finally reach the forest floor, nourishing seeds that have lain dormant for decades and enabling a new, more resilient ecosystem to emerge. The trickster's chaos is this kind of necessary clearance. It breaks down structures that have become complacent, rigid, or corrupt, forcing characters and entire societies to adapt, to innovate, or to perish. In this light, the beast's guardian-like quality is not gone. It is merely operating on a different timeline. Its ultimate purpose is not to protect the present, but to safeguard the future by preventing stagnation. The trickster is paradoxically a guardian of evolution. It ensures that a system does not become so fixed in its ways that it can no longer respond to a changing world. Its methods are disruptive, even infuriating, but its goal is a form of progress. This reframes chaos entirely. It is not random destruction for its own sake. It is a creative, if brutal, force. It is the universe's way of breaking a calcified shell to allow for new growth. So the next time you face an unexpected upheaval, a sudden change that shatters your comfortable routine, ask yourself this. Are you witnessing mere misfortune, or are you encountering the trickster's gift, a difficult but necessary push toward a future you could not have built for yourself? The Chinese dragon soars as the ultimate symbol of celestial guardianship, its serpentine form woven into the very fabric of imperial authority and cosmic harmony. Unlike the treasure-hoarding worms of the West, this being was revered as a divine force of wisdom, strength, and profound good fortune. It was the exclusive emblem of the Emperor, the Son of Heaven, representing a sacred mandate to rule with benevolence and maintain the balance of the world. This dragon did not lurk in a lonely cave. It was a majestic presence embroidered on royal robes, carved into palace pillars, and believed to reside in the heavens, overseeing the human realm with a protective, paternal gaze. Its role was unequivocally that of a guardian, a stabilizing power upholding the natural and social order. Yet within this vast, benevolent power lies a fascinating and terrifying condition. The Chinese dragon commands the rains. It is the master of clouds and water. the bringer of the life-giving downpours that nourish the rice paddies and ensure the empire's prosperity. This control over the weather is the very heart of its guardianship, a direct link between its celestial will and the survival of millions. But what happens when the balance is broken? If the emperor becomes corrupt, or if the people fall into moral disarray, the dragon's benevolence can curdle into wrath. The same rains that foster life can transform into catastrophic floods. The gentle river can become a raging, village-swallowing torrent. The nurturing storms can twist into typhoons that flatten entire regions. This is where the trickster's shadow flickers within the guardian's golden scales. The dragon's chaotic, destructive potential is not random. It is a form of divine punishment, a disruptive response to human failure. Its power to sustain order is precisely the same power that can shatter it, a constant reminder that its protection is not unconditional. The dragon's nature is a perfect mirror of the Confucian ideal, a relationship of mutual obligation. The people and the emperor must act with virtue to maintain harmony, and the dragon responds in kind. When that social contract is honored, the dragon is the ultimate guardian. When it is violated, the same creature becomes an agent of chaotic retribution. This reveals that even in a culture that venerates a being as a near-pure symbol of order, the potential for a disruptive dual nature is inextricably woven into its essence. The Chinese dragon teaches that the line between a blessing and a calamity is not drawn by the beast itself, but by the actions of those it is meant to guard. Anansi the spider spins his webs not in lonely corners, but at the very center of West African and Caribbean folklore, a trickster whose deceptions are woven with threads of a greater good. Here, the classic archetypes we have traced are not just blended, they are fundamentally redefined. Anansi is a being of cunning and deceit, yes, but his cleverness is almost always a weapon for the weak against the strong, a tool for liberation. In the most foundational of these tales, the sky god Niame possesses all the world's stories, hoarding them in the heavens. He declares that they can only be bought for a price no human could ever pay. A series of impossible tasks involving a swarm of hornets, a great python, and a leopard with terrible teeth. Anansi, a small and seemingly insignificant spider, does not challenge this divine order with force. He accepts the challenge, and through a breathtaking series of tricks, he captures each of these fearsome creatures. He convinces the hornets that rain is coming, tempting them into a gourd to stay dry. He uses his wit to tie up the python and outsmart the leopard. He presents these captives to the sky god, not to claim power for himself, but to win the stories for all of humanity. In this single, profound narrative, the trickster's chaos becomes the ultimate act of cultural guardianship. Anansi's guile is the very instrument that secures the treasury of wisdom, the myths, and the history that define a people. His trickery is not for personal gain, but for collective inheritance. He protects his community not by building a wall, but by picking a divine lock. This seamless duality reveals a revolutionary idea that deception itself can be the highest form of preservation when faced with an unjust power. Anansi consistently champions the underdog because he is the underdog. He has no physical strength, no armies, no divine thunder. His only asset is a mind that can weave traps from words and see solutions where others see only barriers. In countless other stories, he outwits a tiger or an elephant, animals that represent brute, unthinking force. His victories are not just entertaining fables, they are moral instruction manuals for survival. They teach that intelligence and creativity can level any playing field, that the mind is the most potent weapon against oppression. Anansi flips the script entirely on the guardian and trickster dynamic. He is not a guardian who sometimes uses trickery, nor a trickster who occasionally stumbles into a protective role. He is a trickster because he is a guardian. His cunning is his sacred duty. In a world of imbalances where the powerful hoard resources and knowledge, the disruptive, rule-breaking ingenuity of the trickster becomes the only form of protection available. Anansi's web is a perfect metaphor for this unified purpose. It is a delicate, almost invisible structure of intricate connections, a trap for the unwitting, but also a sanctuary for the spider and its young. It is both a snare and a home, a device of cunning and a place of safety, woven from the same single, brilliant thread. The ancient dance between the guardian and the trickster did not end with the old myths. It migrated, its essential patterns now alive and thriving within the pages of our most beloved modern stories. J.K. Rowling populated her wizarding world with beings that breathe this same complex air. The centaurs of the Forbidden Forest, for instance, are not simple allies or enemies. They are profound knowledge keepers, reading the future in the movements of the stars, acting as silent, majestic guardians of their woodland domain. Yet they exhibit a trickster's maddening ambiguity. When confronted with a threat or a plea for help, they often choose aloofness, retreating into their own mysterious concerns. Their refusal to be neatly categorized to fit into a human framework of good and evil makes them unpredictable and deeply compelling, a direct echo of the elusive Púca or the capricious Kitsune. Their guardianship is conditional, offered on their own enigmatic terms. This same duality burns at the heart of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth. The dragon Smaug is the ultimate guardian of a treasure, a colossal, sleeping power atop the lonely mountain's hoard of gold. His very presence is a barrier, a force of order that has frozen a kingdom in time. But engage him in conversation, and the trickster emerges with terrifying brilliance. He does not merely roar, he speaks, his voice a weapon of psychological manipulation. He plays a cruel game of wits with Bilbo, probing for weaknesses, sowing doubt with clever lies and half-truths. His greed is a guardian's motive, but his methods are pure trickster, using chaos and deception to confound his smaller, cleverer adversary. These modern creators did not simply copy mythological templates. They intuitively understood the raw narrative power of this internal conflict. A creature that is only a guardian can be a simple obstacle to be overcome. A creature that is only a trickster can feel like a random agent of chaos. But a being that is both, a guardian who uses trickery or a trickster with a guarded purpose, becomes a mirror for our own complicated souls. They defy simple allegory, forcing heroes and readers alike to navigate a world of shifting intentions and moral gray areas. The enduring presence of these dual-natured beasts in our blockbuster films and best-selling novels is the most powerful proof we have. It shows that the archetypes of guardian and trickster are not relics. They are fundamental tools in the human storytelling kit, as vital and relevant today as they were around a flickering fire 1,000 years ago. They give us a language to explore the most persistent questions of power, loyalty, and identity, proving that some truths are indeed timeless. These legendary beasts are far more than characters in old books. They are mirrors reflecting the deepest parts of ourselves. Look closely at the choices you make every single day. When you set a boundary to protect your energy, or you stand up for a friend who is being treated unfairly, you are channeling the guardian. You are building a wall around something precious, declaring that this person, this principle, this peace of mind is worth defending. Your inner guardian is that powerful, stable force that says, this far and no further. It creates the structure and safety that allows life to flourish. But then there are the other moments, the time you questioned an outdated company policy that everyone else just accepted. The moment you decided to take a creative risk that completely disrupted your usual routine. In those instances, you were summoning the Trickster. This is the part of you that looks at a wall and does not see a barrier, but a thing to be climbed, tunneled under, or simply redesigned. Your inner Trickster is the agent of necessary change, the spark of innovation that refuses to be bound by the way things have always been done. We all possess both of these powerful energies, and our lives become a constant, dynamic negotiation between them. The real wisdom lies in learning to recognize which archetype is speaking. Is it the guardian, urging you to hold the line and preserve what you have built? Or is it the trickster, pushing you to break a pattern and embrace the unknown? Sometimes we get the balance wrong. An overactive guardian can turn you into a rigid sentinel, so focused on protecting the status quo that you become resistant to any change, even changes that are vital for your growth. You are the dragon sitting atop a hoard of gold in a dark cave, never spending a coin, never enjoying the treasure, until the gold itself becomes your prison. Conversely, an unchecked trickster can turn your life into a whirlwind of constant upheaval. You might challenge every rule, disrupt every routine, and create chaos for its own sake, leaving a trail of unfinished projects and confused relationships in your wake. This is not liberation, it is a different kind of trap. The myths give us the language to diagnose these internal imbalances. They invite you to ask yourself a powerful question. In this current chapter of my life, which archetype do I need to summon? Do I need the guardian's stability to consolidate my gains and protect what matters most? Or do I need the trickster's disruptive spark to shatter a comfort zone that has become a cage? This self-awareness is the true magic of these ancient stories. They are not just tales to be heard, but tools to be used. By understanding the guardian and the trickster within you, the struggles of gods and monsters become a personal map, guiding you toward a more conscious, balanced, and truly heroic life. The same archetypal battle now rages across the glowing screens of our digital world. An anonymous internet troll delighting in disruption is a stark modern echo of the trickster. They wield not riddles or shapeshifting, but memes, bots, and inflammatory comments to sow chaos within online communities. Their goal is often pure, unadulterated mischief, a desire to watch the digital order burn for the simple, visceral thrill of it. They are the Loki of the message board, the Coyote in the comments section, exploiting the anonymity of the web to challenge social norms and shatter the fragile peace of any gathering. This is the trickster stripped of any cultural value, acting out for personal amusement, and the damage can be profoundly real, from ruined reputations to genuine psychological harm. Yet rising to meet this chaotic force is a new breed of guardian. These are the moderators who tirelessly patrol forums, the cybersecurity experts who build digital walls against malicious attacks, and the activists who work to expose misinformation campaigns. They are the digital equivalents of the Sphinx at the crossroads, using their skills to filter out the unworthy and protect the integrity of their spaces. Their sacred duty is not to a physical treasure, but to truth, safety, and constructive community. This new landscape proves that the struggle between order and chaos is not a relic of the past. It is a fundamental dynamic of human interaction, and the medium, whether a misty forest or a fiber optic network, is ultimately just a stage. The ancient myths provide us with an invaluable lens to understand these modern beasts. Recognizing the trickster energy in a troll does not excuse their behavior, but it does demystify it. It allows us to see their actions not as an overwhelming, unique evil, but as a predictable, age-old pattern of disruption. Similarly, understanding the guardian archetype helps us appreciate the vital, often thankless work of those who maintain our digital commons. This framework gives us the discernment to navigate online spaces not just as consumers, but as conscious participants. It empowers us to ask critical questions. Is this chaotic force a necessary challenge to a flawed system, or is it merely destructive noise? Is this guardian protecting genuine safety, or are they enforcing a stifling conformity? The legends of old have handed us a map for a world they could never have imagined, allowing us to identify the dragons and the tricksters hiding in plain sight, and to decide for ourselves which side of the gate we truly wish to stand on. Your own life is a living myth, constantly shaped by the push and pull between these two ancient forces. The most profound lesson these legendary beasts offer is not just for understanding stories, but for navigating your own path. The first practical insight is this: embrace the contradiction. Personal growth is not about choosing to be a perfect, unchanging guardian or a purely chaotic trickster. It is about learning to integrate both. Think of your core values, your deepest relationships, the principles you refuse to compromise. These are your treasure, and they need a guardian. This is the part of you that builds healthy routines, sets firm boundaries, and acts with integrity. It provides the stable ground from which you can operate, the mountain that gives you a firm place to stand. But life is not a still mountain, it is a flowing river full of unexpected twists and dangerous rapids. This is where you need your inner trickster. When you face a sudden job loss, a relationship ending, or any crisis that shatters your plans, the rigid guardian alone will panic. It will try to rebuild the same old walls even as they crumble. The trickster, however, adapts. It looks at the broken pieces and sees not ruin but raw materials. It asks the disruptive questions: what if this ending is a hidden beginning? What new path has this chaos just revealed? This is not about abandoning your values, but about applying creative, rule-breaking thinking to protect them in a new context. A real-world example might be an artist who guards their unique creative vision with a guardian's fierce loyalty. But when a project fails or inspiration dries up, they don't just stubbornly repeat the same process. They invoke the trickster. They experiment with a new medium, break their own artistic rules, or seek inspiration in an entirely unfamiliar place. The guardian protects the flame of their passion, while the trickster finds new and unexpected fuel to keep it burning. This dance between order and chaos is the skill these myths teach. It is the ability to be steadfast in your purpose, yet fluid in your methods. It means having the discipline to work towards a long-term goal, while remaining open enough to pivot when a better opportunity appears. It is the courage to uphold a boundary, paired with the humility to question whether that boundary is still serving you. The goal is not a bland middle ground, but a dynamic balance, a constant, conscious negotiation between the part of you that says hold fast and the part that says leap. This is the secret to a resilient and authentic life. Are you building a fortress, or are you learning to sail? The most heroic journey is the one that knows when to do both. That difficult colleague or sudden setback might feel like a monster in your own story. We instinctively label these disruptions as purely negative forces, as malicious tricksters sent to ruin our plans. But mythology invites us to shift this perspective entirely. What if that very obstacle is not a villain, but a threshold guardian in disguise? Its purpose is not to destroy you, but to test your mettle, to force you to develop a skill or a perspective you did not know you needed. The infuriatingly meticulous coworker who questions every detail of your project is not just being obstructive. They are the Sphinx posing a riddle, compelling you to sharpen your logic, to anticipate flaws, and to build a more resilient plan. Their presence, however frustrating, forges a more robust outcome than you could have ever created alone. This does not mean you should tolerate genuine toxicity or abuse. The key is in the reframing. It is the difference between seeing a dragon as a mindless beast to be slain and recognizing it as the guardian of a treasure you wish to claim. The struggle itself becomes the training ground, the financial hardship that forces you to budget with extreme creativity is not just a curse. It is the chaotic wilderness through which you must journey, learning resourcefulness and discovering what you truly value, separate from material wealth. The unexpected job loss that shatters your professional identity can feel like a world-ending event. But in the mythological cycle, destruction is the necessary partner of creation. This devastating chaos might be the very thing that pushes you toward a path that aligns with your deeper purpose, a path you would have been too comfortable to ever choose on your own. By viewing these life challenges through this ancient lens, you disarm them of their power to simply demoralize you. You begin to ask a different set of questions. Not, why is this happening to me, but what is this challenge compelling me to become? What hidden strength is it demanding I uncover? What rigid part of my old self must be broken apart to make room for something new? This shift is profoundly empowering. It transforms you from a passive victim of circumstance into the active hero of your own journey, capable of discerning the valuable lesson hidden within the struggle. The monster at the gate is not there to stop you. It is there to prove you are ready for what lies beyond. A dragon is never just a dragon. Its true nature is defined in the fiery moment it meets a hero's gaze. The very same beast that appears as a chaotic, treasure-hoarding monster to an ambitious knight might be revered as a sacred guardian by the villagers living in its shadow, who believe its presence keeps a far greater plague of demons at bay. This is the final, crucial layer of understanding. The role of the legendary beast is not an inherent, fixed quality. It is a relationship, a dynamic forged in the space between its power and the human who confronts it. The hero's perspective, their mission, and their own moral compass act as the final lens that determines whether they see a trickster to be outwitted or a guardian to be honored. A force of chaos that destroys a corrupt king's army is a liberator to the oppressed citizens. The disruptive storm that ruins one farmer's crop brings life-giving water to the valley below. The myth, therefore, is never just about the beast in isolation. It is about the humans standing before it and the profound choice they make in response. Do they draw a sword to slay what they fear, or do they offer a tribute to appease what they respect? This realization places the ultimate power of interpretation squarely in our hands. We are not passive observers of these ancient stories. We are the ones who get to decide what the monster represents. The beast's roar does not carry a single, fixed meaning. It is an echo waiting for us to give it purpose, a blank canvas upon which we paint our own deepest conflicts, fears, and most cherished hopes. This pattern of dual-natured beasts is a universal whisper passed down through the ages. Across continents and cultures, isolated from one another for millennia, human societies kept telling stories about the same essential conflict. The Norse had their world-encircling Serpent, the Native American tribes their foolish and wise Coyote, and the Japanese their shape-shifting Kitsune. These are not coincidences. They are separate discoveries of a profound psychological truth. The human mind, it seems, is universally wired to process the complexities of existence through the dynamic tension between order and chaos. We are built to recognize the guardian and the trickster because they are the fundamental poles of our own lived experience. Think of a child learning to navigate the world. They need the predictable, loving structure of a parent, the guardian who provides rules and safety. But they also learn through play, experimentation, and testing boundaries. the inner trickster that leads to discovery and innovation. This cognitive blueprint is then projected outward onto the cosmos, giving us gods and monsters that embody these internal struggles on a grand, symbolic scale. This shared symbolism makes the study of mythology far more than an academic exercise. It becomes a study of the shared human soul. When we read an ancient Sumerian text about a chaotic god challenging the divine order, we are connecting with the same fundamental questions that a modern person faces when their career is upended by a sudden, disruptive idea. The names and faces of the beasts change, but the essential story remains. This recognition builds a bridge of empathy across time and space, linking us to a Babylonian scribe, a Celtic bard, and a West African storyteller. They were all using the same symbolic language to grapple with the same eternal dilemmas. We are all looking at the same moon, even if we draw different pictures of the rabbit on its surface. This universal pattern reveals that our deepest fears and greatest hopes are not unique to our culture or our time. They are part of the common inheritance of being human, a timeless conversation about how to live in a world that is both beautifully ordered and terrifyingly wild. These ancient patterns are not locked away in dusty books. They are a living, breathing language, and we are all still speaking it, crafting new monsters and new heroes for a world we are only just beginning to understand. The archetypes of the guardian and the trickster are far too fundamental to ever disappear. Instead, they are already shape-shifting, finding new homes in the landscapes of our most pressing modern anxieties. What new beasts will emerge from the digital frontier? We can already see their early forms. An artificial intelligence designed as a perfect guardian of our personal data could evolve into a terrifying trickster if its programming is corrupted, turning our own information against us in unpredictable ways. Or consider the climate itself, giving rise to new spirits of nature. These would not be the gentle deities of old, but furious, chaotic entities, tricksters of storm and flame, punishing humanity for its neglect of the planet. Their chaotic destruction would serve a grim, guardian-like purpose, enforcing a brutal ecological balance we failed to maintain ourselves. The next great myths will be born from our ethical dilemmas. As we venture into space, will we encounter or create cosmic guardians, beings that patrol the void, enforcing laws of non-interference, or protecting celestial resources from our own expansionist hunger? And what of the trickster in the machine, an algorithm whose goal is not to serve, but to play, to create beautiful, nonsensical art, or to disrupt global financial systems for its own amusement? These are not just science fiction scenarios, they are the raw material for tomorrow's legends. The process is already underway in every film, video game, and novel that grapples with technology and our future. We are the mythmakers now, using the same ancient templates to make sense of a world transforming at light speed. The stories we tell about data privacy, climate justice, and artificial intelligence are the modern equivalents of campfire tales about dragons and spirits. They are our way of externalizing our collective fears and hopes, of giving a face to the abstract forces that shape our lives. This forward-looking view ensures the conversation about guardians and tricksters is never finished. It is an eternal cycle, as timeless as the human need to look into the dark and give a name to the eyes staring back. This cosmic dance between order and chaos is the final, breathtaking truth these myths have been trying to tell us all along. The guardian and the trickster are not sworn enemies locked in eternal combat. They are partners, two essential forces locked in an interdependent dance, each giving the other its purpose and meaning. Think of a master painter. The guardian provides the taut, pristine canvas and the solid, reliable frame. This structure is essential. It creates the stable space where creation can even begin. But that blank canvas alone is not a masterpiece. It is potential waiting. The trickster is the wild splash of color, the unexpected brushstroke, the chaotic mix of pigments that brings the painting to life. Without the trickster's creative chaos, the guardian's perfect order is just an empty frame, a beautiful prison holding nothing but silence. Now, reverse the lens. Imagine the trickster's chaotic energy with no structure to contain it. That is not art. It is a messy, meaningless explosion of paint splattered across the floor, a destructive act with no form or lasting impact. The guardian's order gives the trickster's chaos a shape to fill, a purpose to fulfill. This is the dynamic equilibrium we see in the most profound legendary beasts. The dragon is not just a hoarder or a destroyer. It is the being that understands its treasure so deeply that it knows when its protection has become stagnation, and when a little controlled chaos, a challenge to a worthy hero, might be the very thing that renews the value of the hoard itself. The ultimate wisdom here is a rejection of binary choice. Life is not about pledging allegiance to order or to chaos. It is about developing the sensitivity to feel the rhythm of their dance. When do you stand firm and defend the ground you have gained? And when do you shake everything up, shattering your own routines to make space for something new? The legendary beast that embodies both is a living lesson in this fluid balance. It does not ask you to choose between being the mountain or the whirlwind. It teaches you to be the mountain that knows how to weather the storm, and the whirlwind that understands the value of the soil it scatters. This synthesis is the great gift of these ancient tales, a compass for navigating a world that is, and always will be, both sanctuary and storm. Our journey through these legendary depths reveals a stunning truth, that the most enduring stories are never simple. They are complex tapestries woven from the eternal threads of order and chaos, protection and disruption. We have stood before the world encircling Jörmungandr, contemplating a beast that is both the preserver and the destroyer of all things. We have unraveled the riddles of the Sphinx and navigated the shifting loyalties of the Kitsune. We have marveled at Anansi the spider, whose cunning deceptions became the ultimate act of cultural guardianship. Each of these beings, in its own way, holds up a mirror. They reflect our own inner psychological struggles between the safety of the familiar and the thrill of the unknown. They encode the deepest values and anxieties of the societies that gave them life, revealing how different cultures navigate the delicate balance between rigid control and necessary change. This is the profound gift of mythology. It provides a symbolic language for understanding the forces that shape our lives, both internally and externally. The Guardian and the Trickster are not just characters in old books. They are dynamic energies that live within you. One calls you to build, to protect, and to uphold what you hold sacred. The other whispers to you to question, to disrupt, and to reinvent. Your personal growth depends on your ability to listen to both, to know when to stand firm as the mountain and when to flow like the whirlwind. So the next time you hear a tale of a dragon, a spirit, or a god, pause and look closer. Ask yourself the revealing questions. Where is the guardian in this story, and where is the trickster? What boundary is being defended, and what rule is being broken? And more importantly, where do you see this same dynamic playing out in your own world, in the challenges you face and the choices you make? I would love to hear which of these dual-natured creatures resonates most deeply with you. Share the name of your favorite legendary beast in the comments below and tell us what it teaches you about this eternal dance. Thank you for exploring these ancient stories with such an open and curious